Emily. It's great to see you again today. This is my supervisor, Carrie. She's here to observe my work today and give me some feedback on how I'm doing. I really appreciate you letting her observe our session this week. Is it okay with you if Carrie and I take some notes while we talk?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So last time we met, you told me about the impact your parents' divorce has had on your schoolwork, and how this has kind of led to a lot of anxiety for you. We then worked together to formulate some goals to reduce your anxiety. I'm excited to hear about the progress you've made, but first I'd like to check in with you and see how you're doing today. Using kind of the same 1 to 10 scale we used last week, with 1 being the worst and 10 being the best, how would you rate your anxiety today regarding your schoolwork?
I would say like a 4 or 5. I'm still pretty stressed out about my schoolwork, but I'm feeling a little bit more confident.
Okay, that's a big improvement from your score last week. Can you elaborate a little bit more about why that might be?
I met with all my teachers and got feedback from them about what needs to happen in order to get my schoolwork done to pass each class. And I have a lot of missing assignments and stuff to do, but we talked about that and kind of had a general plan with each teacher of how to complete that. I'm still worried I won't ever be able to get it all done, but I do feel slightly better that at least I know I'm working in a positive direction.
Wow, I'm proud that you completed your first goal way ahead of schedule. We contracted that out to get done 3 weeks from now. You are just a go-getter. Way to go.
Well,
thank you. That's so awesome. That shows quite a bit of initiative. So we can check off the first goal on our contract as completed. I'll let you do the honors.
Thank you.
Good job. Wow, that's awesome. Okay. Do you have the list from those meetings by any chance?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. So it sounds to me like you're kind of feeling overwhelmed about everything that needs to be done, but you're also relieved that a plan is starting to take place or take shape. Does that sound right to you?
Yes, but the plan doesn't really seem feasible, so I'm sort of at a loss of what to do now exactly.
Well, let's use that 1 to 10 scale again. This time with 1 meaning it's completely impossible and 10 meaning that you're certain it's possible. If you were to decide to complete all the steps given to you by your teachers, how confident are you that you can do so?
Maybe a 2, and that's being generous.
Well, let's maybe take a look at everything and see if there's a way to make things more manageable for you. Which classes do you feel the most confident about?
English, I really like English, so that's an easy class for me, and math would be a close second.
Okay. So that's about half the classes. That's about half the classes you have to get caught up on. That's really awesome. You're about 50% there, of the way there. Can you tell me why you feel the most confident about these 2 courses?
Well, I really like to read and I enjoy writing, and also I really like my English teacher. She's very nice and helpful. I actually hate math, but the list of makeup assignments is the shortest out of all of my other classes, so it seems a little bit more feasible and realistic for me to catch back up in that class than some of my other ones.
That makes a lot of sense to me. So from this list, it actually looks like you really kept up with your homework in math, which is why your list of things catch up on is so short. So that's really great. And you did so despite everything that was going on at home. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. Can you tell me kind of how you managed to do that?
During my free period, I went to Miss Macy's room, which is the math teacher, and did my homework there instead of just hanging out with friends and trying to utilize my time a little better like we talked about last week.
Well, what a great way to use your free period. That's fantastic. That must have involved kind of a lot of self-discipline, and it really showed me how great your time management skills are. Does your math homework usually take all of your free home period?
No, generally only the first half hour.
Okay. What do you do for the second half?
It just depends. Sometimes I do nothing. Sometimes I've lately been trying to make a list of what my missed assignments and homework are, and put that in order and work on those.
Okay. Well, what do you think about maybe going to Mr. Matthews' room to do English homework for the second half of your free period?
Yeah, I think that I could do that, but not until Tuesday.
Okay. Let's add that to our contract, that starting Tuesday you'll spend half your free time in Mr. Matthews' room catching up in English, and you'll continue spending the first half in Mrs. Massey's room. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's add that to the contract. And do you have any idea of when you think you can complete your math homework by?
Probably within the next month.
Okay. So
or less than.
You'll continue meeting with the math teacher during free period for the next month, or until you get your homework done, which might be earlier. And then you'll start meeting with Mr. Matthews' room to get a start in English. Do you have any idea how long that'll take, or?
I'm not totally sure.
Okay, so we won't put an end date on that quite yet, but I bet you'll get a good idea of it as you start. With how much you've accomplished so far, I bet you're going to accomplish quite a bit. I'm just really impressed with you. So I'll sign. Okay, great. So we'll review your progress in English and math next week then, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Great, thank you.
Feedback.
Do you want to? You're at 7 minutes. I think you'll be fine. But it's up to you.
I guess we'll do feedback, and I'll email him, and then worst case worst, we do a second 4-minute edition next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I timed it, and it was like 12 minutes, but I think I got nervous and
yeah, you were kind of talking a little bit fast.
Talked too fast.
So I liked your tone of voice, but the pitch got a little high sometimes. Like, you just kind of got excited, and you're like, that's great! And, like, it was really, really high, so, like, you know, just kind of, like, be conscious of that.
I think I'm so used to working with kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked that you, like, went over the last week, and you kept, like, the same scale, so, like, you were, like, using the scale we used last week, but then you were, like, one being the worst. Like, you re-explained what it was, but said you would use it last week. You were nodding and kind of, like, like, while she was talking, and I thought that was really good, because you didn't, like, interrupt her. I liked the goal checking off. That was fun. But you, like, let her check it off. I thought that was really funny. I did not really like you asking her for her list, because I felt like maybe you should have your own. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, like, taking her whole notebook was kind of, like, a little bit weird, and there was, like, a lot of, like, paper flipping around. And so, like, I didn't know if there was, like, a way to organize that better.
Yeah, I think maybe trying to get it.
Because I definitely think, like, having the list was like, a good idea, but just, like, asking for it from her was kind of weird, because, like, what if she hadn't brought it? Like,
maybe you could have handed me a list.
Yeah.
Yeah, my thinking behind that, I don't know if this was good thinking or not, was that it was her goal to complete the list, and I didn't expect her to have completed it so early. And that me going and asking her teachers kind of would have undermined.
Well, I meant for, like, I mean, like, having her, like, know what her list is, like, that's fine, but you, like, asking to, like, physically take her list to kind of see what it was. Like, I felt like if I was her, I would have been like, you're a social worker, you're supposed to already have this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
Or you could be like, can we, like, review your list together?
Yeah.
Or something, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
I think that would have been smart if we would have
like, just
reviewed
organization would have been a little bit better than, like, just, like, taking the list from her, because I feel like maybe it would have been helpful for her to also see it.
I think that was like a not, this isn't a real meeting blooper.
Oh.
Because if I actually had to have known what was on those lists, we would have had to review it, or else I would have had no idea.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's, like, I mean, would you be taking notes? like, as the social worker, would you have also made that list with her? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, you
probably.
would have had your own copy.
Probably.
I probably would have broken it down into more manageable chunks with her, and like we would have looked over it and said, yeah, that would have been something we should have done. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. I like that you kind of had her, like, you kind of, like, did the scale, but then you were like, you know, like, let's talk about your class. Like, it wasn't just like, how's your classes on a scale of 1 to 10, and then, like, move on. You kind of, like, you didn't just ask her to give you, like, a number. You kind of asked her to be like, okay, so, like, you said this. Like, can you tell me, like, what's going on? You added in some strengths, which I thought was, like, cool. Like, you were like, you're so determined. Like, you're doing this, and it's really awesome. You kind of, like, kept referring to the contract, which I thought was good to kind of, like, keep it in her mind that, like, you did have this contract and stuff, and, like, remind her that she does have things that are, like, supposed to be getting checked off, and, like, she did check one of them off. And you were just, like, overall, like, really encouraging, and, you know, like, you did do this, you're doing so good, like, I can't wait to see where you're gonna be. So, yeah, overall, it's pretty good.
Awesome, thank you. That's awesome feedback. Do you have any feedback?
You just covered a lot of things.
I know, I'm sorry. I was, like, writing the whole thing.
No, I love
that's
that.
good,
I love
yeah.
feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that you did a really good job, and I think you were very reaffirming, and good eye contact and body language, and I mean, I'm kind of just going to be repeating you, like, you know, referencing back to what I think, again, like, that was good to reference back to the contract and to go over the scale, but then to break that down into, like, okay, what does that number mean for you? And then, like, realistically, how do we put your goals into action? Like, what does that look like physically? And then creating that plan that I could feel comfortable with, of going to the math teacher's room, you know, during my free period. Like,
I like that you also, like, added in, like, it wasn't like, okay, well, now you're going to start doing this. It was like, you know, do you think that you can start adding in the English teacher after math? And then she was like, well, I think I could after a certain time. And so you were like, okay, that sounds like a really good goal. It wasn't like, you need to start doing this tomorrow. Like, it was very like, okay, like, I can work with that type of thing. So I thought that was really good.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much.
you're welcome.